My goal in this video is to talk about the first time I did an O&M exercise all by myself and a little bit about how I chose to deal with that situation. A little background about myself is in 2007 I had a brain infection and then ended up having a stroke around the same time. It's kind of a double whammy, and that's a longer story that I'll save for later. 2008 I recovered enough to be able to go to Criss Cole Rehabilitation Center for the Blind up in Austin, Texas, which is basically blind school, which I passed, by the way, because I'm blind. One of the courses you take is Orientation and Mobility, or O&M for short, and it teaches you how to use a white cane, how to travel independently, explore your surroundings with your cane, not just beat people with it, which is fun too. Travel anywhere on the around you. Take the bus, take a cab, find an address. Normal things. It was just me and the instructor, instructing me. After a while, though, you have to start to do solo excursions on your own, and this is the story of my first one, which was pretty eye-opening. Which I know is probably a poor choice of words, but eye-opening. Means you see differently, you perceive stuff differently. It doesn't matter. You don't have to use your eyeballs to see. Anyway, my assignment was to basically do something I had done quite a few times before with my instructor, which was pretty easy because I always had somebody to ask if I was doing something wrong or I did not know where I was. It was very simple. Ride the bus to the post office, get a change of address form, and come back. Like I said before, I've done it quite a few times before with somebody else, so I thought I had no problem doing this. The way this is just a little setup. It's a residential, quiet part of Austin, Texas, so there's barely any traffic, which is good and bad. You'll see that part later. One side of the street is the post office with the bus stop, post office. One side of the street, a direct opposite return bus stop, and the fire station. I got there, got off the bus. I went to the post office with no problem. I got my change of address form with no problem. I made it to the corner with no problem. I crossed the street with no problem, and then I hit a problem. The way it is, the return bus stop is just you follow the sidewalk and then you wait for the break and then turn left and go to the bus stop. Well, since there's a bus stop, the grass is longer. There's more grass than just a smaller that would be for just in front of a house or whatnot. And when I crossed the street, I heard two guys talking. So me being the way I was, newly blind and very self-conscious and not wanting to get in front of anybody, get in anybody's way, I stopped and I sidestepped to get away from their voices so I didn't get in their way. I learned that was a really freaking bad idea, and one of the things that taught me to never do that again without having some sort of point of reference to return to, whether it be a noise or just some solid object or person or whatever. Basically, after they moved away, I went on my merry way and was trying to feel for a break, and I missed the first one, which would have taken me to the bus stop. So I continued on until I got to another break, and I turned into it and I started going, and I started feeling something towards my right. And it's hard to describe this if you can't really see it, but you can feel when a wall is close to you or just something is close to you, because I looked it up, but there's actually sensors on our face that tell us these sort of things, kind of like whiskers, but not as cool. But anyway, I kept going and I hit a metal chair, and I'm like, you don't run into metal chairs when you're trying to go to the bus stop. So I had a moment of panic, and I just turned around and tried to make my way back. And it took me a while to figure out that, that was the front of the fire station. And I was in such a state of oh my gosh that I didn't fully think it through, because I hadn't learned all of the skills yet I needed. I was still really new to being blind and really new to O&M in general. So I just tried I guess I was just going by reflex or instinct or some subconscious thing I was doing. But anyway, I got to the curb street and I stopped and I waited, because I was taught that to orient yourself to where you are, use traffic. And so I was waiting for a car to go by so I could tell where the corner was. And I waited and I waited, and it seemed like it took freaking forever, but it probably only took a few minutes. I heard a car, I turned, and then I started making my way back to where I needed to go. And I'm not sure how I did it, but I bypassed the grass and I ended up right on the curb I needed for the bus. And I stood there and I waited, and I probably looked like somebody kicked me or kicked my puppy or whatever. I looked pretty freaking pitiful. I'm pretty sure of it. A bus eventually came, which, surprised me because I didn't know I ended up on the right freaking corner. And the driver opened the door and asked me what I wanted. And I said I was looking for the number 4 north. And he said he was one of the UT shuttles. And I said, okay, when is it going to come? It's about 15 minutes behind me. And I was like, okay. And then I asked really sad, like, where's the bus bench at? And he put the bus in park, got out, and went to guide me to the bus bench. And would you like to know how far away that thing was? If I would have swept out with my right hand or with my cane to the right, I would have hit it, and it was only a few feet away. And if I would have remembered my O&M skills, I would have been able to remember to check out my area with my cane. But anyway, I sat down at the bus bench and I waited for the next bus, which was my bus, and I finally got back to the center. The timing for me finally getting back to the center coincided with one of the breaks, so I was able to go out and have a cigarette, and I still smoked back then, with my friends and tell them my story of what happened to me. That's my thing, is like when I do something silly, I tell people about it, because then it doesn't feel as scary as it actually was, or as stupid as it actually was. I'm pretty big on sharing. I would rather laugh about something than cry about something, because that's a waste of time. Anyway, I was telling the story, and my friend Donnie, I love him and I totally miss him. He came up with when I talked about how I whined to the bus driver, he dubbed that my bus driver voice. So whenever I tried to use that on him to wheedle or plead anything out of him, he would just tell me, hey, don't you be using that bus driver voice on me. So it's kind of like a running joke within my family, that if somebody whines about something like, can you give me a glass of something, or can you get me this or that, it's like, hey, don't be using your bus driver voice on me. That's not going to work. So yes, that's the origins of the bus driver voice, and that's pretty much the story of my first solo excursion with O&M. One of my other goals for sharing that story was to show that you're not alone. You think you mess up, it's gonna happen. Everybody messes up. There's nothing to be ashamed about if you mess up. I don't know how many times I have done something stupid, goofed up, or done something silly since I've lost my sight. That was just one of the scariest moments I've had since I lost my sight. Not the only one, but definitely one of the first ones that I've had. And just to, I'm sharing that with everyone else who's on the fence or who's scared of getting out there and trying something. Don't do it. Don't worry about it. You'll make it, because I made it. I'm still here. I'm not stuck on a corner in Austin anymore, even though it felt like I was there for freaking ever. But don't be afraid to go out there and do it, because the rewards are much better than just sitting around and doing nothing. And that's just the first step for some things. And you're gonna fall, you're gonna fail, but hey, if you put it in a different light, it's not gonna seem as bad as it was when it happens. I know I make funny stories up about the things that I have gone through, but looking back at them without that lens, they're pretty freaking horrible. But I'm here, and it's done and over with. And like one of my favorite songs, there's pain in the night, but the sun comes out in the morning, and that helps. That stands for a lot of things. It is always over at one point or another. If anyone has any questions or comments, please put them where they belong. If you want to email me directly or ask me questions and you don't feel like you're comfortable in putting in such a public forum, you can email them to me at no frill no shill at gmail.com. It's just those 4 words at gmail.com. I'll add that to the description. I'm pretty sure you can find it somewhere because I know I put it somewhere. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope this video was pretty informative and also entertaining because I like to entertain people. Anyways, thanks.